Welcome to the AC 24/7 Top Story Countdown. We'll guide you through the biggest news of the day. Our focus, advocating our rights, advocating equality, advocating health, and advocating Earth. Here's our pick for number 4.
The clock is no longer just ticking, it is banging.
This warning by Vice President Kamala Harris at the UN Climate Summit in Dubai on Saturday. She called for transformative change to make up for lost time in fighting global warming.
We must treat the climate crisis as the existential threat that it truly is.
Harris said the U.S. would pledge another $3 billion to the Green Climate Fund, a fund that helps developing nations adapt to the climate crisis and cut fossil fuel pollution.
It's so important that in this decisive decade for climate action, we have accountability in addition to commitments and transparency. We've got to get the receipts.
The move by the U.S. to contribute billions of dollars to the fund comes after criticism that America wasn't doing enough.
Today they are putting money. It means tomorrow their whole story will have changed because they realize that we are unrelenting. They realize that we're not going to shut up.
123 countries signed a declaration formally acknowledging the link between climate change and health. The declaration covers a myriad of issues, including reducing emissions and increasing the amount of money devoted to the climate crisis.
I know we will build a cleaner, healthier, and more prosperous world for this generation and for generations to come.
I'm Rob Kirkpatrick reporting.
TheAdvocateChannel.com looks at the world through the lens of equality and inclusion. Subscribe, like, and share now. AC 24/7's Top Story Countdown continues with our producer's pick for number 3.
Former President Trump should not even be facing charges for questioning his election loss in Georgia. That was Trump lawyer Steve Sadow's claim in court, where he said, just look at the state's case.
You find that it violates free speech, freedom of petitioning, all the expressions that the First Amendment is designed to protect, and therefore the indictment needs to be dismissed.
Attorneys for others accused of trying to overturn the Georgia vote echoed that argument and effectively said no one has been charged for something like this before. The prosecution's quick reply:
This is the first time someone a criminal enterprise has gotten together and tried to overturn the results of an election.
Indictment on the way, got Sadow on the case.
So who is Trump's attorney mentioned in this rap video? Sadow is an Atlanta lawyer with a national reputation for arranging plea bargains on some big racketeering cases and helping high-end clients on other matters, including rappers Rick Ross and Tip T.I. Harris.
Probably the best criminal defense attorney of his time.
On Harris's podcast, Sadow talked about his skepticism when it comes to police and prosecutors.
We know a lot about abuse of authority. I mean, it always will continue. It's just a question of what technique is used.
My impression was something big is about to happen.
In 2017, when former FBI Director James Comey testified about being fired by Trump in the heat of the Russia probe, Sadow tweeted, "I am not a Trump supporter," but he called Comey self-righteous and a CYA showboat. Now he is representing the former president in Georgia, where some Trump allies,
Mr. Chesbrough,
like Kenneth Chesbrough, have taken a plea deal. Chesbrough's lawyer knows Sadow and says he's the right attorney to juggle the unique demands of this case.
What we always want to tell our clients is, don't say anything, be quiet, let me do all the talking. That's advice any criminal defense lawyer would give their client. You can't do that. In a case like this, the man's running for president.
So, in court, Sadow is plowing ahead, suggesting the whole case, if it proceeds next year, will interfere with the election.
But can you imagine the notion of the Republican nominee for president not being able to campaign for the presidency because he is, in some form or fashion, in a courtroom defending himself?
Like the Advocate Channel on Facebook for the best way to get updated stories that advocate for equality, justice, our rights, and more. AC 24/7 continues with today's top 2 pick.
In light of the expulsion of the gentleman from New York, Mr. Santos, the whole number of the House is now 434.
An unprecedented and historic vote as New York Republican George Santos becomes just the 6th member of the House to be expelled from Congress. Santos leaving the Capitol before the vote was officially announced, saying he has no plans to return.
Why would I want to stay here? The hell with this place.
105 of Santos's Republican colleagues joining with all but 4 Democrats. After a bipartisan ethics committee report concluded Santos sought to fraudulently exploit every aspect of his House candidacy for his own personal financial profit.
Basically, he defrauded the voters of his district. His life was made up, it was a lie, and then he used his campaign as though it was a scam the whole time, taking money from donors and turning it into his personal use. It's not that deep, it's theft.
The ethics panel finding that Santos blatantly stole from his campaign, including for travel, Botox, and even OnlyFans. One Republican congressman alleging Friday he was personally impacted.
Mr. Santos took not only my credit card personally, he took my mother's credit card. This man has cost my family $30,000.
The vote comes even after GOP leaders raised concerns about expelling a member before they were convicted of a crime. Speaker Mike Johnson took the rare step of voting against the resolution.
I personally have real reservations about doing this. I'm concerned about a precedent that may be set for that.
Majority Leader Steve Scalise and Whip Tom Emmer also voting no. Santos has pleaded not guilty to 23 federal charges.
It's wrong what he was accused of doing, but he was accused. And if this institution is going to now ignore the rule of law because of political preferences and political decisions, it is going to be damning not just for the House, but it's going to be damning for the United States.
3 members were previously removed from the House for fighting for the Confederacy. 2 others expelled after being lawfully convicted of crimes in court.
I'll go to jail before I'll resign.
Most recently, Ohio's Jim Trafficant in 2002. Santos's ouster could have a major impact on the GOP's already narrow majority.
Follow the Advocate channel on Twitter and Instagram to stay updated on stories that matter every day. We're now at our #1 story of the day. Take a look.
Respiratory illnesses are on the rise across the country, and health officials are concerned.
RSV season is in full swing.
While COVID cases are nowhere near the winter surge we've seen in previous years, the numbers are going up. And cases typically spike during the holiday season, which is exactly what happened last year.
COVID is still the primary cause of new respiratory hospitalizations and deaths.
The CDC says every week 1,000 people are still dying from COVID and 15,000 are hospitalized. And respiratory virus cases in children are rising, with RSV being the key driver of hospitalizations for this group.
It's one thing to see a rise in these types of infections, particularly in school-aged children, but also to monitor the severity.
The number of cases is putting a strain on some pediatric hospitals. The CDC says 70% of beds in children's hospitals are being used. Capacity hasn't been this strained since mid-December last year. But respiratory illness is not just impacting the U.S.
We are seeing, in general, an increase in respiratory infections around the world.
Northern China and Beijing are seeing a surge in children with respiratory illnesses. The CDC and World Health Organization are monitoring the situation closely.
We're following up through our clinical networks and working with clinicians in China to better understand resistance to antibiotics.
The good news is that it doesn't seem to be a new pathogen causing the spike in cases. Health officials warn the best protection against respiratory illness is for everyone to get vaccinated. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Thanks for watching the Advocate channel's top stories. We're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Follow, like, and share, or check out advocatechannel.com for even more stories that advocate for you.